Welcome back to the SPL. The penultimate week is about to continue here. We've got one more week to go. I'm joined by Adonis for the first set of EU, probably both sets of EU. Where did you get that tie?
Oh, I was getting prepared for EU. I took it from your office. I hope you don't mind.
It looks good on you. I'm not gonna be too upset.
You're starting, like, Epsilon's kind of like starting to lean me towards Europe a little bit. I'm not so North American
biased.
Biased is a strong
Reddit
word.
will be happy.
Biased is a pretty strong word.
Will be happy.
I'm just trying to even it up. I'm trying to, go international.
We've got 8 games over the rest of the weekend for you. Tomorrow, though, don't forget, you've still got time to sign up for Alpha Draft today to get your picks in for tomorrow. Use your esports knowledge to win real money over there. Take that into account for yourself as well. So alphadraft.com, head over there and maybe abuse the free FP week.
Abuse the free FP? Is every week free FP?
Not every week. I said the other week it wasn't.
And it actually was, because all the games actually went exactly how they were supposed to do. Yeah. These games, though, they're pretty interesting. Most of the teams have qualified, but there are some possibilities with some upsets. Denial and Myrmidons moving up into land contention.
Yeah, a little bit of space between some of the teams. Talking about space, Noir. The skin at the moment is part of the Odyssey, and if you actually pick that one up, you will also be able to get the We Are the Ward skin.
Go into game, throw down that ward, and it actually cycles between all the pantheons, the symbols for them. It's actually pretty cool. Used it myself just the other day for the first time, and it was actually more exciting than I thought it would be. I'm not going to lie.
Also take into account as well, we also do have Squad Goals weekend going on where you can earn double experience, double favor, and double worshippers.
Double worshippers.
And is it double FP?
Huh?
Is it double FP as well? I heard it was double FP.
Yes, it's double FP as well. I actually got a lot of worshippers. Got some gods mastered finally. I can bring Jingten into rank on my other account.
Yeah, just make sure I'm against you and not with you. That's for sure. I've played with him before.
No, it's squad goals. That means we're supposed to team up. Look, I even got the bow tie for squad goals specifically because I wanted to play with you, Graham. I really did.
I don't want to.
But it's okay.
The only time me and you will be on camera together is here and at the World Championships, which is going to be coming up in January. World Championships tickets are on sale right now. You can head over and pick up your tickets and get the opportunity to meet the like of us.
Yeah, swc.smikegame.com. You can buy your ticket now and get prepared for January the 7th through the 10th. It's going to be the top 10 teams around the world competing, and maybe some of the teams that you see here today will be there as well. So
they're not here
prepared.
Today,
well,
yeah, they'll be here a couple of weeks time,
they'll be on your screen playing the game, okay, Hindu?
Right, let's have a look at the schedule for this upcoming weekend, though. We've got 8 sets to bring you, I should say, between some of the brightest stars of North America and Europe, and there's still a lot of these games make a big difference on who could potentially make LAN and what seed they end up falling into for that LAN.
We're going to start off with Epsilon and Titan, moving on to Dignitas, London Conspiracy, Denial versus Envy, and we're going to end Saturday with Enemy taking on Eager.
Now, we're not really going to touch too much on Sunday, but there is Match of the Week, which will be on Sunday as well. Paradigm will be up against Fnatic. Now, that is the scheduled Match of the Week because those two teams are vying at the moment for that second position. That second position going to be very, very important to make sure they don't, A, have to face Epsilon, and B, get a bye for the first round.
Paradigm currently 18-6. Fnatic is 17-7. They did take 2 games earlier this week, so only a 1-game difference on these two teams, which is, it's really close. They're going to be facing off against each other, and then as well, we're actually going to see Epsilon taking on Titan in the final week, so there could be some switch-ups here.
We'll talk about the standings over in EU. Let's bring them up on your screen for you to have a little look at here and see exactly how we're shaping up today. We've got 2 games to bring you. We've got Titan versus Epsilon and London Conspiracy versus Dignitas today, as we mentioned, and you can see exactly how all 4 of those teams line up.
Myrmidons are still hanging in it, though, at 5-19. They need 3 wins right now to tie Team Dignitas, and here's the interesting thing. London Conspiracy is going to be playing Dignitas today. If Dignitas can find 1 win, they only need 1 win, they guarantee themselves, at the very minimum, 3 shots at qualifying for land because they actually face Myrmidons in the final week, which means even if they lose both games to Myrmidons, they force a tiebreaker and they would actually have that 3rd chance. So Dignitas looking for 1 win minimum, 2 wins to secure their land spot.
Well, we'll see what they can do up against London Conspiracy. But the first game today is going to be Titan up against Epsilon. Let's have a look at the boys of Titan. Their newest addition, BroTuZ. We had an interview with him earlier this week when he had a very good performance on the side of Titan. And they're starting to come together again here, Adonis.
For me, really, it's BroTuZ and how quickly he's fit into this team. They had a very good match against Titan. That is a very good match against London Conspiracy earlier on. And I think that, for me, really showcased that BroTuZ has fit into this squad. The first week, it was very rough, wasn't there. But he had a very nice showing against LC. Not one of the top teams like Epsilon is, but someone who always puts up good games against the top 4 in Europe, and they took those clean. Perfect execution, a very Titan-like win for them.
Now let's talk about Titan as well for a little bit longer, because they're currently sat in 4th seed. It's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for them to get into the top 3. So they're going to be on Epsilon's side of the bracket. What are they looking for from the rest of the SPL games this season? Are they just looking for practice and get the team unity together?
I think that's key, really, is for them to get that unity together. They brought both BroTuZ in near the end of the split, right? There was a lot of roster changes. You look at Eager and how successful they are now with Omega. He was brought in at week 1, and he's had, 9 weeks of practice. BroTuZ, he's only been here for a few, so they really need to get that synergy together before Super Regionals. They'll have some off time before the LAN actually takes place, but really, being under pressure, being in the SPL matches, that's when you get the most experience and really get through kind of some nerve issues that a lot of players do have when they first enter the scene.
Well, 37 different gods were played by Titans so far.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Split, yeah. But they've had a lot of changes in the roster and where they've been. 37 different gods, and that was before the LC game as well, so I've not even factored those ones in. But Epsilon across the way, well, they're a different sort of animal. Currently top of EU, and are the only team to qualify and have their seed confirmed.
Yeah, and not only do they have their seed confirmed, but they actually confirmed it last week. This team has dropped 1 game to Fnatic of all teams, and that makes sense, right? If you're going to drop 1 game, it's going to be to Fnatic, who have been at the top of Europe for more than a year now. But this team, this squad, iRaffer, it's the money ball, as Brandon likes to call it. He got a bunch of players who really weren't, the best on their teams at playing Smite, but what they were the best at were mechanics. They knew when to use abilities, how to use abilities, and they were just players who would just 1v1 you and just straight up outplay you. They may not have known when to rotate. They may not have known how to efficiently farm, but iRaffer taught them that, and I'd say more so now that this team has grown as a unit.
Now, we did get a little bit of information just beforehand. I don't know if Kevin knows this yet, but the boys of Epsilon, we wondered what they were going to be doing in terms of any mix-ups or anything crazy. They're actually going to be role switching Dimi and Emilitoo for both these games against Titan.
I did hear about this, and there's actually a couple different scenarios which make this good. First off, Emilitoo has played solo lane before. Dimi has played hunters in the solo lane, although not really this split, I would say. This kind of really gives your team a mix-up and allows you to form synergy with your jungler that you might not have had, because Emilitoo, I wouldn't say he gets babysit a lot, but there's a lot of action in Epsilon games in the dual lane and mid, not so much the mid and the solo lane. So this should give Dimi a little bit more synergy with adapting, but I think more important is it actually limits BroTuZ's experience.
We could talk about more about this once we get into the game. Picks and bans, let's go. On your screens right about now, Titan versus Epsilon, game 1. Titan, they're looking for practice. Epsilon, well, they're looking to experiment, I guess, in a lot of ways.
I'll really be interested to see what they elect to pick here. If they're going to go really kind of one of their standard picks or switch it up and, play some spicy little things.
Well, we mentioned the role switch, so Emilitoo going to be in the hunter, going to be in the solo lane, has played multiple roles before. Why would they look to switch him there, do you expect? What possible reasons run through your mind when you're thinking about this?
I think a lot of it, I mentioned earlier where it's going to be limit BroTuZ's experience in that solo lane, but also Dimi could start practicing a few more hunters in these coming weeks, because we do see solo laners typically run hunters in their god pools, right? They don't come out often, but when they do come out, a lot of times they surprise enemy teams. I'd bring it back all the way to the spring finals, where Cyclospin brings out Uller and just destroys Team Solo Mid at the time.
Well, Sir Ket gets banned out for the final ban for Titan. That just means Sun Wukong is left on the table. Will we see Epsilon look to draft that early on, do you expect, or will they look elsewhere?
This is a very Sun Wukong is a very safe pick, which would have gone to Emilitoo more than likely, but it's going to be the Khepri valuing that revive over anything else right now, and there's no surprise. 2 of the top gods that we see banned out, Giannis and Serket taken out, which leaves Wukong and Khepri. These are almost guaranteed to be picked up, as they are. Titan, they're going to be grafting Thor as well for Repikas.
What a happy situation for BroTuZ. Like we say, he's the newest edition of Titan, being able to probably have that Sun Wukong for himself. We could potentially see KanyeLife run that in the support. We've seen it before from him in previous seasons.
The Thor, are you saying Wukong?
The Wukong. I mean, Thor as well, I guess.
Yeah, but he hasn't had a lot of success on Thor. That's the,
it was one game.
Still, he actually played it earlier in the split as well. He had a good game on it, but it's not something he plays too often, and it's rarely that strong.
Well, they did lose that game earlier in the season when he played that as well, so maybe we won't see KanyeLife go back to that. I like to see him on the Ymmirs, the aggressive sort of support. So
I agree.
Aggressive Guardian supports is what I want to say there, not necessarily the Warriors or Assassins. Rama locked in, which will probably be going to Dimi, and that doesn't surprise me because Dimi's played a lot of Rama before. We've seen it in the Challenger Cup where he's run that in the solo lane, and I think it's one of his most comfortable hunters there, so pretty wise pick up there.
Also, they're going to be Epsilon that is going to be drafting the new WoW. I believe it's 16 games out of their 24 that they've run this.
That's
and
right.
Most notably because they switch it up between the solo lane and mid. Now, will Emilitoo run it, or is this going straight to Yammyn? That is still up on. That's still the question.
It's
really
funny
of this match.
because so far this season, Yammyn's run it 7 times and Dimi's run it 9 times in solo and mid. So Nuwa for them is when we say flex pick, sometimes we overuse that because a god can be flexed, but Epsilon really use, for the most part, Nuwa as a flex option.
Nox locked in for Titan. We've seen how deadly the Thor-Nox combo is. You know, Nox able to jump inside the Thor. Thor can ult in the air, and she's stuck in there for so long. I believe it's like 10 seconds. She can come crashing down, and it's a lot of burst.
Why would Thanatos be banned by Titan here? Is it because they're worried about the Thor matchup in the jungle? Is that the reason?
More than likely, because that's really historically what Adating has done. He's played this Thanatos. He plays it a lot in ranked, not so much in the SPL matches, but we have seen it brought out specifically against Thors. Thors really like to start strong in the earlier game. They like to put out a lot of pressure, stealing away a lot of buffs. And Thanatos is not only stronger in that regard individually, but in the direct matchup, you can silence out Berserker's Barrage, as well as Mjolnir's not allowing Thor to teleport, and it really counters him in the jungle specifically.
It was one of those things because obviously Execute goes through Khepri's Blessing, his ultimate, which stops the heal.
That
so I
was
was like, why would they potentially limit their options for if they want to go for an Execute? I guess they've got Thor already.
They don't want to play Thanatos,
limited.
so it's more of we don't want the Thanatos to counter our Thor.
Well, we're going to also see Ataraxia there playing that Xbalanque. Ataraxia is still getting back into the Hunter swing of things for the most part, so we don't have too many stats on his Hunter performances so far this season. Had run a couple at the start of the season in the solo lane, but now he's linking back up once again with Kanye in the duo, and Zhong Kui locked in.
Naja
solo or mid.
I was actually thinking about Naja instead of the Thanatos here, and the reason is Naja does a lot of what Thanatos does to counter Thor. The Sash can stop Berserker's Barrage, stop Mjolnir's as well.
Jump into his hammer,
Yeah, and it's ranged, so it's a lot easier to hit, I would say, than the Silence. The Silence takes a little bit of wind-up time from Thanatos. Naja, very good against Thor. However, the strength of Naja is really dependent, right? Thor, it doesn't matter where you are on the map. It doesn't matter what's around you. Thor is always strong. Naja, however, only strong in certain situations, most notably when creeps are involved or when the enemy's around camps or when they're grouped up. In a straight 1v1 situation, the ring toss is almost useless.
Now, Dennis, when you see that composition, is Thor jungle or is he support?
I'm going to tell you right now that he's going to be jungle.
You waited.
What do you mean? I didn't wait at all.
You did. It came up on your screen before
wait.
you answered. Scumbag.
Emilitoo going to be taking Zhong Kui to the solo lane, and it will be Yammyn in the mid lane on this new wall, matching up against PrettyPrime's Nox. And PrettyPrime has been grinding Nox a lot in ranked. Maybe not so much the past couple days, but over the past week, he's been streaming a lot, and he's very proficient on this god.
Talk to me about matchups here, because we're going to see a Zhong Kui in the solo lane against BroTuZ's Ra as well. Some Wukong is obviously support for KanyeLife here, but what's a Zhong versus Ra matchup going to be like in the solo lane?
It's going to be a farm fest for the most part, but I would say early on, BroTuZ will see the push. His wave clear is really dependent on one ability, the Celestial Beam, whereas Emilitoo, he has to throw the card out, go to the side, and then exercise demons to build up his stacks into his passive. However, by that time, BroTuZ could actually throw up the heal up the minions a little bit. So push in favor of BroTuZ early on, but I don't think Emilitoo is going to be pressured too much. He also has a self-heal in his kit.
Now, the other thing about solo lane here is, will we see teleports out of either of these two teams in the solo lane? Because Zhong Kui would really like Heavenly Agility and Beads, and Ra generally would like the same sort of thing as well, if possible, Heavenly Agility and Beads. But that means they're not going to have the rotational ability that they would once have from most solo lanes, where they're using a lot of teleports.
I don't think we will see those picked up at all. There's always the possibility, and sometimes it's dependent on the game. Sometimes it's your team is losing. They're down 8-9K. I'm just going to back and buy teleport. I have to make a risky play. We actually have seen that sometimes, though not too often. But sometimes when mages are facing off against each other, it's like an unspoken rule. It's like, all right, you don't get teleport, I won't get teleport.
So they'll just see we'll see who actually ends up getting teleport first, if anyone does. Ataraxia taking a lot of poke early on from Raffer and Dimi over in this duo lane. And talk to me about the duo lane, because it's Xbalanque son Wukong up against a Rama and a Khepri. This should feel like even wave clear to me.
It should. So what it's going to come down to, and what it did come down to, was getting the early lane advantage, getting that first wave push, and it seems that Epsilon were the first ones to the wave. And you could see their Raffer just barely missing that dash. And it's very dangerous for KanyeLife or Ataraxia to walk up into the wave, because they are going to get poked out. You saw it just there. This wave advantage is very strong for Epsilon.
And Abduct is one of those abilities that are a little bit different to Charge Prey on Sobek, where it will actually pass through minions, deal damage to them, and you can grab someone who's behind his minion line anyway. So you have to consistently stay away from that Abduct that Raffer is going to be looking to do.
Just going to be farming up for the most part here. I doubt that we'll see any kills come out onto Titan. Like KanyeLife, he's got his bird up. He's not even needing to use it. Potion-wise, he actually has a decent amount, and he has Bluestone. Titan are just going to stay under this tower. They have the wave clear to not lose minions to the tower, and I don't think we'll see them be too aggressive. But at the same time, you look at Epsilon, iRaffer, and Dimi, they're pretty far pushed up. Once Repikas hits 5, that's when you'll see them, I think, slink back a little bit and play a little bit more defensive in that lane.
Now, with how this game's going so far, it looks like most of the lanes are pretty much even, which means that we're not probably going to see many invades early on in the game. Is that what we'd expect? Just because of how all the teams have the same amount of push pretty much in these lanes.
I think we'll see a hard, aggressive gank at one point, and then a big rotation from both teams. More than likely, I think we'll see Repikas try and force an issue either in the solo lane or the duo, and maybe not so much the mid. Other than that, it's going to be just like a small 2v2 or 3v3 skirmish in the mid lane, where Adapting hits a really nice ring bounce and then just tries and burst Repikas.
Well, we're tuning in with the duo lane again, and as we can see, Dimi here playing the Hunter role today. Nice interesting fact about him as well. He's only spent... You ready for this, Kevin?
Okay.
Are you ready? This is gonna blow your mind right now.
This better be a good stat.
Whole season. How many minutes has Dimi spent dead? Whole season.
Minutes dead?
Minutes.
24 games, probably averaging like 25 or 30?
Total game time for Ninja Dimi this season, now known as Dimi, he spent 10 hours and 30 minutes in SPL games.
Okay.
How many of those minutes has he spent dead in a game, in total?
On like 16 maybe? 15?
I keep going lower.
10?
9 minutes.
9 minutes?
9 minutes.
Are you serious?
The guy's only been dead 9 minutes in over 10 hours and 30 minutes of gameplay in the SPL.
I'm pretty sure we saw like Xing do that, like be dead that much in one game. I know all of like enemies, like they go really late. I know we've seen like Chaos up there, Mytheri up there on Elevate.
When you break that down into real detail there, that works out at, on average, he spends 1 minute dead for every 70 minutes of a game he plays.
That is disgusting.
70 minutes and he
You have to think that like just like once you're like max level, you die once. That's like a 30 or that's like a 60 second. That's a minute. It's a minute death right there.
And Emilitoo though, who plays the Hunter role most of the time, he's a lot lower down the schedule. He dies pretty much one of the most on the team. So there's a chance here Dimi's record could start being tarnished by this role swap.
See, that's what you would expect, right? You would expect Dimi to be the solo laner, or Emilitoo to be the solo laner. He's got a lot of deaths, you know, front line, play very aggressive, and then you have Dimi, you expect to be the hunter, really, because he plays, I wouldn't say backline, but he plays a very well thought out game, has very strong positioning, and doesn't really get caught too much, and that's why he has a lot of deaths.
Well, we'll see if he can get punished
that's
this game.
Weird. That's
okay.
1
minute every 70 minutes of game time he spends dead.
And he plays like risky gods, like
he does.
Like
he's aggressive. He plays assassin. He's very, very versatile in his role, but it's a very good stat to have when you look back and you realize that everybody else close to him, I think the closest person to him is Barracuda, and he's way, way, way higher up in terms of average time spent dead.
Yeah, Barracuda didn't die for like the first 7 games or 8 games of the split as well.
And now you can see how good Dimi is. All the others that have got low amounts of average time spent dead are generally substitutes that have come in and played 1 or 2 games. So good stat line for Dimi there. Best. Not dying is the best way you can put it.
Yeah, KanyeLife rotating early here. Raffer still has his ultimate available, is going to use it. Doesn't look, okay, no. Titan will proc it. Oh, perfect timing coming out from that Night Terror. Rotation coming in. Repikas takes to the sky.
Is he going to come down though for Raffer? He should be looking for him, but the rotation from Emilitoo should dissuade the situation for the most part. You can also see that BroTuZ was slowly inching over here as well. Last time we saw him play that, he did pick up the first blood on the team with the snipe that when he rotated to mid lane here. So I like that he's rotating again and sustaining his team.
I saw something there. Actually, a double tap. Perfect wall. Adapting might be caught in place. He's caught in the silence. His ult is going to go off. He gets the heal as well. And that's just going to be a disengaged Titan. they're the aggressors right now. They're finding some really nice situations where it looks like they're going to come out on top, but Epsilon sneaking away.
Emilitoo, though, did just push the wave in the solo lane. He's trying to zone BroTuZ away from getting it. So
I love
this rotation from Titan is being punished a little bit because they didn't find a kill. If BroTuZ would have helped to find a kill there, this would have been fine. But a whole wave of experience.
That was
painful.
clear and experience from BroTuZ as well, because you could see he kind of like stood there and like was trying to fight Emilitoo instead of just going around and at least getting some of the wave. Instead, he loses 3 creeps. Huge misplay coming out from him there.
Did you really have to do that?
I had to. I'm sorry. It was 3 creeps
so
exactly.
You steal my thing with bow ties and you steal DM's thing.
Today I'm just gonna borrow everything. I'm gonna like come out of this
Start
game
saying
with
stuff
glasses
after the
on.
stuff and hot dogs and then wear glasses. That's what you need to do. And sandals, socks and sandals, that's a big thing. Still 0-0 in this game, though. At the moment, Titan are doing a good job of farming up. Can we check with experience just to see if anyone's got an innate advantage here? And as you can see, it's 1,000 experience advantage for Epsilon. Some of that was, a little bit of that was in that solo lane just then, but most of this is just Epsilon are farming better as a team.
I mean, you can see the top 3, or it's changing a little bit. It's not that big swing, but a lot of last hits coming out from Titan. So that's just Epsilon farming across the map. iRaffer, no ult for him this time. Actually, no, it just came up. They're not going to proc it, and it looks like he's going to snake out of there.
But I think what the plan here is to try and do the Gold Fury potentially is Titan, put the aggression on Dimi. Obviously, a little bit inexperienced over in the duo lane is what we want to say, so will he make the rotations at the right time is the question, and it looks like Titan are trying to punish them for that a little bit.
Adapting, doesn't want to give this up.
He
actually takes PrettyPriMe to the sky. Nua's waiting for him.
Will they get the follow-up? Yes, the burst was perfectly timed by Yammyn with the shining metal as well. So Wukong takes to the cloud. There's the fire shards coming down as well to put some pressure on, but Kanye will get out of trouble. But look at this, Emilitoo with Sprint, going to chase him deep, looking for the pick onto KanyeLife. Slight misses from BroTuZ, and another kill for Yammyn makes it 2-0.
That's an Emilitoo play, diving straight into the tower on a Zhong Kui. Sneaks out of that one. That's 2 kills in favor of Epsilon, and full control of this game so far, up about 1,500 off that swing. It was Titan who were actually finding, I'd say, the good engagements early on. Twice they locked down iRaffer, but they invested so much, and both times he was able to ult himself and then get away unharmed, unscathed, and then the rest of Epsilon rotates in and locks down those targets who have most of their abilities down.
Well, you can see that rotation from Emilitoo really made a big impact there as well. So he's doing good work from the solo lane, which we've not seen him in all season. Now, you were saying just before the cast as well, before we get into picks and bans here, what about the solo? Why would Emilitoo and Dimi switch here? Is it to not give something away?
It's really to, I think, lock down BroTuZ, because Epsilon, they're guaranteed for Super Regionals.
Yeah.
Titan, they're guaranteed for Super Regionals, and more than likely, outside of some crazy coincidences, going to be on their side of the bracket.
That's correct.
They do not want BroTuZ to have experience against Dimi at all. Emilitoo and Dimi have completely different playstyles. Emilitoo just ran into a tower, was tanking it as a Zhong Kui. He was able to get away with it, but that's not something I don't think we'd see Dimi do too often. It's a completely different play style, and now BroTuZ is going to go into the Super Regionals. If they have to face off, you'll have no idea how to play against Dimi from personal experience.
Well, if you say that as well, then that's the same thing for Ataraxia, who's not played in the Hunter role all season, and he's not going to get a chance to face Emilitoo here today to have a little warm-up against him to be prepared for him for regionals if they do face.
I don't know if this was
the plan?
Epsilon's plan.
It's genius if it was.
It's genius. Are we giving iRaffer that much credit?
I don't want to give him too much. But
I know.
Hey, I mean, if this was the plan from Epsilon to...
Oh, it's ingenious if this was the plan.
It's a smart idea. If it's just a role swap and experiment a little bit. But it also helps with team communication too, right? Because most of the time, solo laners, they're on an island. They don't normally get involved too much in the communications or have to worry about too many rotations unless they feel it's the right moment. Whereas Emilitoo's going to experience that himself from that hand, and Dimi's going to see what it's like playing on the other side of the map.
I think there's a lot of positives to this role swap. I don't think it's going to be permanent at all. I really do think it's just to kind of work better as a team and to lock down BroTuZ more than anything.
Imagine if it was and we'd just being thrown for a loop here. We came out with all these potential reasons, and then
I was like, oh yeah, bad. Oh yeah, that was definitely what I did. I was like, yeah, let's role swap here. This is a great idea for me.
Role swap. Well, 2-0 still in favor of Epsilon after those 2 kills. Picked up back-to-back pretty much.
Emilitoo is controlling this lane. BroTuZ is constantly pushed under his tower, and now Emilitoo is at that level into his build and into the god where he can clear this wave very quickly.
I mentioned teleport early on in the solo lane too, and I don't think we're going to end up seeing Emilitoo go into it at all, because you always want beads, right?
If you're going to go teleport, you almost always see teleport 1 picked up before like the 10-minute mark.
But you're going to want beads,
yes.
right? You're never going to go sprint and then go teleport and then
I don't
try
know.
and survive.
Emilitoo sometimes. He'll just like, he just
That's
likes
a good point.
running
It is Emilitoo. That's a very
Who
good
knows?
point. I didn't think about that. You'll probably take Blink.
You know, Emilitoo's actually very experienced in the solo lane, too. We haven't really mentioned that. Back in Season 1, he played for a couple teams. I believe it was Cloud9 back in Season 1. And he actually ran both support and solo lane for that team. A little bit of mid as well. So Emilitoo is a player who has played almost every single role competitively outside of jungle, I believe.
I think he's played the odd bit of jungle. At least in Challenge Cup he did, because Epsilon, when they were formerly known as Pantera, Yammyn and Emilitoo, when Rafa made this team, they were like not sure about who's going where. And in the end, Emilitoo ended up coming and staying in the Hunter role. Yammyn went mid, but they did role switch quite a bit, those two, where they were trying to work out who's better or who should be in which role.
It's clearly been successful. 23-1. This team is the cream of the crop in Europe, maybe in the world. We'll have to see. Super Regionals coming up.
Stats
I can't wait to see Epsilon face off against North American
Just
teams.
North American teams. I'm looking forward to it as well, just to see how it'll play out. One member to talk about as well is Yammyn in this mid lane.
Ooh, here we go.
Hold a second. Repi going up. He's going to look for the gank, and Emilitoo doesn't find the wall.
Emilitoo smelled that out a mile away. Were there any wards? Yeah. Repikas.
Exactly where you want it, but look at the call from Epsilon here, Kevin. Straight over to the Gold Fury here. Rafa on zone in duty. Free Gold Fury for Epsilon, punishing the rotation that didn't find a gank.
Intelligent decision making. Emilitoo smells out the gank, sees Repikas on the ward, and immediately calls for his team to do gold, or at least someone made the call to do gold. They combined for it, and Titan, they didn't even know it was happening until it was already done. You saw KanyeLife rotate in there, and then Raffer just gonna, kind of playing in front of him, not allowing him to get in there and zoning him out completely.
Body blocking, that's what you're gonna do.
Very clean.
MVP for that little skirmish and play that we saw there was definitely the ward at the Fire Giant, which just gave the information away over to Epsilon, allowing the Gold Fury and Emilitoo to escape the danger. So good work once again by Epsilon. This is one of the reasons why they are top of the SPL right now, because they seem to be making all the right decisions at the right times.
Good experience sharing as well. Raffer rotating over, tags up that blue, and then does the backs with adapting. Sharing experience is so important at a competitive level, making sure that certain players, most notably your support in your jungle, don't get too far behind. And adapting and Raffer are very good at getting experience across the map.
So laning phase is starting to come to an end, at least when we talk about Epsilon and technically Titan here as well, because around this time is when we see Epsilon try and do the big burst, around 15 minutes.
Same with Titan.
Titan, yeah, that's what I say. Titan for the most part, around 12 minutes, they're looking for the tier 1 tower in mid. They did that at the start of the season at least. As the season's gone on, they've maybe changed the strategy, but we should start seeing some big team fights soon.
Yeah, the problem for Titan, though, is that they're 4,000 gold behind at 13 minutes, and they're typically not in this situation. I'm not saying that they don't group up when they're down and force those mid fights in the mid towers, but not when they're this far down. Sometimes it's like it's a close game, they're down 1,000, maybe 2,000, but right now, BroTuZ is being locked in the soul lane. I think he's happy with it, though, because he's got that Warlock sash. He's starting to stack it up, so he does kind of want to farm and get that online before the big engagements happen. But for me, it's how big Emilitoo has been and how well he's played the Zhong Kui in the solo lane.
Just have a little look at adapting here. Look at his experience compared to that of Repikas. Look at his gold in comparison to Repikas as well.
My word.
That's a huge difference for such a close game so far, but hold that thought as Wukong has to use the cloud. Darkest Knights was used as well by Ataraxia. Repi's going to the sky here, but adapting, looking for the pick on Prime on the backside. The dunk is going to get beads out by adapting, and he immediately goes up and finds the kill for PrettyPriMe, and Epsilon are winning this fight.
Real bad fight for Titan. I'm surprised Repikas came crashing back down there. BroTuZ, he's rotated to the mid lane, but nothing's going to come from it. It was an advantage on Epsilon in just simple numbers. They had their 4 grouped up before Titan had their 4 grouped up. On top of that, they had the Khepri ult. They were fighting a 5 versus 3 and just didn't disengage fast enough. I think they realized they couldn't fight it, but they stuck around a little bit too long.
So Epsilon got the tier 1 tower mid, but the biggest thing I want to talk about that is that Dimi never rotated, right? That's the sign of a solo laner right there. Emilitoo rotated. That's the sign of what he's been used to doing all season. He's the one that made the rotation for solo. Dimi's like, I'm just going to farm take tower. Like,
I'm going to see away the red buff. Ooh, Raffer, his ultimate is available. You can see Dimi rotating back in to help out his team. And this is why Epsilon is so good. The second one player is in trouble. This is why I would say top-level SPL teams are good. One player gets in trouble, the rest of the team will immediately collapse because one of two things happen. One, they get their player out, and it's a disengage. Or two, the enemy team invests so much to killing that player that they can counter-engage and turn it around.
We saw that from Stealth yesterday playing Giannis. He had no mana, but he hung around with big portals that really influenced the fight and allowed Cloud9 to escape some dangerous situations there.
Right-hand side, Adapting.
Big
not going to allow Repikas to farm. We've already talked about the 1,300 gold lead.
It's a four-level experience lead.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize the experience was that large now.
I don't know how he's managed to creep up that much, but he's got crit online now. Does Adapting as well.
Oh, that's bad.
Is going to do a lot of damage. Take into account the slow.
He's
dead. And Repi is dead before he lands.
He comes crashing down. Yammyn steals that kill. In the meantime, Emilitoo continuing to believe he's a warrior.
Disgusting play from Epsilon. Fantastic work from them. They're just going to backdoor the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. There's no rotation coming through here from Titan. 2 members already dead. What can they expect? I mean, Kanye's going to try and defend tier 2 along with PrettyPriMe here. But so far, so good for Epsilon as they creep to 5-0 in this game.
You can see them. It looks like they want to take the tower. A small little thing there. iRaffer actually throws out Rising Dawn, which makes the minions from Nuwa also take less damage. Anything that is targetable will take less damage if Rising Dawn is on that. So just going to take Titan a little bit longer to clear out that wave.
Just that little bit extra second. Shooting with Dimi again over in the duo lane. Has Soul Eater and Xbalanque completed as well. A little bit more defensive than what we used to see in Emilitoo because he's already got beads 3. Emilitoo would probably by this point not have an active. Maybe 1 if we're lucky. He might have beads 1 here.
Maybe.
But Dimi definitely taking the safer option here. And Ataraxia has been quite contained so far this game.
Hasn't really been able to rotate, but I mean, he is the guy that can't rotate as well in the direct hunter matchup. Dimi has a role. He's got a semi-global ult. Ataraxia more about the farm and then throwing out that Darkest Nights, making impact in the lack of vision for the other team.
A rough situation for Titan once again in this game. Let's have a look at the experience in gold here as the Gold Fury has respawned again. 9,000 experience and 6,000 gold. But Adapting getting aggressed on him mid. Going to use his ultimate to take him out of his combat for a second. But Repikas ate so much damage from that. But the snipe came out immediately that put Adapting very low. You can see the blessing was available and used immediately by iRaffer. But iRaffer and the boys of actually Titan ignored it and then picked him up afterwards. So Adapting finally falls down. Jungler for jungler. But the pressure from Epsilon is too much. As Emilitoo on the backside, he's still looking for kills. Going to find one on Prime. And look at this, Dimi's going up for the snipes.
Are you a true hunter? We're going to find out real quick, Dimi. Nope, has just had no idea where they was.
Vision. No vision.
Good juke coming out from BroTuZ, hiding, using the map to his advantage, really, hiding behind the trees over that edge, and Dimi couldn't spot him out. Mid-tier 2 going to be sieged, and Epsilon securing that one. Titan just on their heels all game, they're trying to fight Epsilon. They just don't seem to have the damage to top it off. I mean, when they do find the damage, iRaffer throws out that Scarab Blessing, revives someone, and that's the only time we've seen that death, right? Adapting actually did get revived, tried to go back into the fight, but took a little bit too long to decide that, and then the Scarab's Blessing was popped, or it did not get popped.
I think that was good decision-making from Titan more than anything not to go aggressive because they could pick him up the moment after. Realizing not to do any sort of AoE damage that could potentially just tick that and give him the heal that he was looking for and the revive, and then pick up the kill for a 1-for-1 trade. Still goes in favor of Epsilon because they get the tier 2 tower afterwards as well.
Can we take a look at Emilitoo real quick? I kind of want to see his health because Zhong Kui recently received big buffs to his health pool. He now gains more per level, starts a little bit more, and he has ethereal staff online. Right now, Emilitoo is sitting at almost 2,700 health with 1 item that gives him health. Still 2 levels to go. He'll be at about 2,800 when that's completed. He is going to be so hard to tank.
He's got Shoes of Focus as well, so a little bit of extra mana there, which will combine nicely with the ethereal staff as well. Bancroft's telling online too. I like the ethereal staff here just because he's not going to be sitting in lane. Emilitoo's not one to sit in lane and farm all day. He wants to get involved in the action. So finding those Warlock Sash stocks,
Emilitoo just wants to fight nonstop. Like that is Emilitoo. Like that's how you describe Emilitoo. He just wants to fight. He wants to engage. He wants to be in combat.
We're actually following along with Yammyn here. The Silent Assassin. For me, the most overlooked player of Epsilon. We doesn't get mentioned too much, but his slash lines in some of these games are monumental.
It just seems to be overshadowed by Adapting, but Adapting can't do everything alone. Split push going on in the meantime. Titan are going to take a tier 1 and a tier 2. Meanwhile, Epsilon only get a tier 1 off of that, so this so far has been a trade in favor of Titan.
They may get punished because look at this rotation from Epsilon through the jungle here. They're going to try and cut off the avenue of escape. The backs are coming out already. Look at that usage of fire shards to stop anybody backing. They know exactly where everybody is right now. Luckily though, Prime managed to get out in time.
Just barely.
And the two with the more mobility, let's put it that way, do manage to get out as well. Good play from Titan to escape.
That was a fantastic play from them. Epsilon, though, they're going to be starting up the Fire Giant. It looks like they're just baiting it. You can see Adating wants to fight.
And look at this, BroTuZ over in the dual lane, farming away, doesn't have teleport to get over here, so has to start making the rotation now. Repi's going to the sky here, but the Fire Giant is getting very low. Can Titan take this one away? Repi took a lot of burst damage very, very early on, and now the Fire Giant does go over to the way of Epsilon, and they're looking for more.
You can see Dimi wants to fight. Adating comes crashing down. Ataraxia is down. Look at that heal on Adating. He's almost back at full. Meanwhile, KanyeLife getting chased out by Dimi. A couple auto attacks will secure this, but Dimi not able to find him. Dimi, come on, man.
No, he can't get enraged. Meanwhile, on the backside, though, there's still a fight going on. Birds come out onto the tier 2 tower. Emilitoo does pick up Prime. BroTuZ with a lovely snipe onto iRaffer, though, to bring him down. Kanye, he's going to play the merry chase around the roses as much as possible. And finally, Dimi picks up the kill on Kanye.
Tier 2 tower going to be sieged in the meantime. Emilitoo tanking that up, but BroTuZ playing defender seems to have scared Epsilon off. Honestly, the chase on KanyeLife, I would say, really slowed down Epsilon's advance. Epsilon would have been able to take that tier 2 for free.
And a Phoenix, I feel like a Phoenix could have been taken that as well in that right-hand lane if they continue the pressure as a whole team there. But they do get the tier 2 tower eventually anyway. It's still 11-2. Gold Fury down. Fire Giant on all... Sorry, I was going to say all 5 members, but IRaffer did fall down to that nice snipe from BroTuZ there. And now they're going to go back to base, spend some of this gold, and then look for the next opportunity, which is probably going to be that tier 2 tower on the left-hand side.
Gold Theory not going to be spawning anytime soon, so likely to see multiple lanes pushed up and the final tower taken on the map.
And I say again, Yammyn's been overshadowed like most of the time. Look at him, 6-0-1 in this game so far. We're checking with player damage.
He got MVP 1 week.
1 week.
1 week.
1 week.
He's always just like a couple kills and a couple assists behind Adating. Yammyn, though, has grown to be one of the best mid laners, not only in Europe, but in the world. At the beginning of the split, I felt that his God pool was his biggest problem. I saw a fantastic Giannis, and everything else was kind of mediocre, right? It was good for a top 4 team, but it wasn't necessarily... has an incredibly strong, Nuwa or Isis or Agni. Since then, though, I think Yammyn has grown individually to be a player that has not only a deep God pool, but a deep understanding of the game.
Well, Adating 1-1-8 this game. He was the first to level 20, I believe, alongside Emilitoo, but he's been an assist monkey for most of this game here. He's not managed to find the killing blows that he'd like to, but boy, has he set up a lot of kills.
Epsilon sieging this left-hand side. Ward coming out. Epsilon actually, they threw a counter ward to make sure that Titan would not have vision on that lane.
Just so you can see Thor coming, but look at this dive. Emilitoo going in deep with the ultimate early. Gonna force the cloud. The Phoenix has already fallen down here. Kanye's clone will be bursting soon. Kanye's still going in, trying to slow them all down. Repi's going to the sky now looking for the dunk. The silence has been used by Prime already. And look at Epsilon. They're still looking for more.
KanyeLife, he's going to be taken out. Repikas has to hammer out of that one. New Art of the Sky, not going to do enough damage to kill KanyeLife, or Repikas, excuse me, he's going to revive. And Epsilon with that Fire Giant region in their kit, and Emilitoo with a lot of self-sustain. He's going to heal back up, and this is going to be a mid-Phoenix. Dimi gets teleported on by Repikas, but Adating going to catch him out. It's a one-on-one. Yammyn's in the back. He actually beats for cooldown, trying to lock down Repikas. Dimi can't connect the snipes.
Nope.
Titan so far staying alive,
the
but
abduct will connect, though, that
going to
means
fall.
Emilitoo will pick up the kill, and the Titan should be falling down here. iRaffer heals himself up with the blessing, and it looks like Epsilon should be able to take game 1 here up against Titan with the role switch working out for them.
2 players left alive on Titan, but it's not going to be enough. And Epsilon, very clean game 1. Not a lot of kills, but a good amount of action, I would say, coming out from the team.
So where did it all go wrong for Titan that game? That's the question.
It just seemed like every small engagement, I would say, the Khepri pick.
Because before even we saw the first 2 kills go in favor of Epsilon, there was already an experience and gold lead for Epsilon.
It was the Khepri pick for me more than anything there.
Made the impact.
As well as Emilitoo just completely outclassing BroTuZ, not only locking him in his tower, but then completely out-rotating him. We saw Emilitoo in fights, and BroTuZ, even in that last Fire Giant engagement, BroTuZ was over there in the dual lane, trying to stack up his Warlock stash, and Emilitoo was in a fight, and Epsilon was able to force a 4v5, take the Fire Giant clean, find a couple kills, small misplay with them kind of chasing some players around, but I mean, they still had such a huge swing and lead that they were to do the final push and win the game.
Exceptional performance from Epsilon. Let's have a look at First Blood at the beginning of this game and see how it all began in terms of the kills. And it was a nice combo coming out from Adapting and Noir there.
Just adapting, taking someone to the sky, come crashing down, and it looks like Yammyn, were they able to pick up a second kill?
Emilitoo
oh, this
dive
is the
under
Emilitoo
tower with
dive.
the support here as well, so it was a lovely little play from Epsilon early on that gave him, well, they had a small lead anyway in experience and gold, but it just continued based off that.
Yeah, it was just these fights Titan was taking, they would get someone incredibly low, Scarab's Blessing would come out, revive them, and then they would lose 1 or 2 players. And it was just kind of that 3 or 4 times in a row. Slowly Epsilon grew this, 4, 5, 6K gold lead, snuck a gold fury as well once Repikas dove Emilitoo, wasn't able to find the kill. Epsilon took small wins, I wouldn't say big wins, and then it just became too insurmountable for Titan to fight into.
Player of the game was Yammyn in the mid lane on that new war. Involved a lot of the kills.
He gets credit
in the game. Eventually, sometimes 6-0 and 4 performance from him there. Fantastic work from him. And to be fair, a lot of it was just decent positioning and relying on his teammates to set up for him, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do as a mid laner.
Yeah.
Adapting and Yammyn, they have very good synergy, and most of the time it's Adapting finding the last hits, but this game it was really Yammyn. Those two, for me, controlled the pace of the game, along with iRaffer. iRaffer's ult got so much out of Titan early on and didn't really allow them to make any big plays. You could see Titan were trying to force the issue. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to synergize perfectly and lock the targets down they needed.
Well, that lead slowly crept up, and eventually Epsilon won the game. Yammyn, as we said, taking MVP there. What do we look from Titan for Game 2 here? Because you mentioned Khepri being a big issue in that game. So did they ban Khepri out?
I'd say you kind of take it out, because if you're not going to be able to combo burst some player,
it Khepri?
it's
I mean,
hard.
Adapting played Nijar, did very, very well there too.
I know it was 4 levels ahead at I believe the 15-minute mark onto Repikas, but Repikas, he wasn't really fighting too much. He was actually farming pretty well, but I think it was just Adapting and Epsilon as a whole very efficient and splitting camps and finding small advantages and wins. We really didn't see them invade too much. Epsilon.
Let's have a look at the alpha draft stats for that game as well and just see exactly where they all fell down on the table. And obviously you can expect Epsilon with that great performance ending up on top. Emilitoo in the solo lane with a really high amount of points.
I think he was like having fun in the solo lane. He's like, I get to play Zhong Kui. I just get to fight all the time. Locks BroTuZ under tower, rotates to these mid lane team fights and makes really big plays.
Yeah, well, we made a lot of rotations there. Maybe some of the solo lanes can take a page out of his book, but nobody likes leaving solo
like
island,
Dimi?
really. Dimi?
Maybe it was Dimi.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is an experiment to see if this will work.
Maybe it is.
I don't
Maybe
think
it's
it is, but there's always the chance.
Well, it makes it a flex pick, right? That you could just throw one of them there.
Oh, actually, that actually might throw teams off even more, right? Because you load in the game and you see Dimi on a pick and you expect him to be in the soul lane, so you'll even start your build, right? I'm a warrior, right? I see Dimi in the soul lane on Noir, right?